Hey, welcome. My name is Daniel, and this is Metal Sharpens Metal, a place where we analyze the lyrics in heavy music from a Christian worldview. Today, we're going to check out a song that was recommended by someone on the channel named I'm a Trick Scammon G 9609. I had Unprocessed on my mind for a while to do as a review because I've really liked some of their past music, and I've been following Manuel and the band as a whole for a number of years now. So thanks for the prompting, Matrix, on that one. Today we're going to be going over their song HE Double Hockey Sticks, which is also known in some, at least 9 circles, Hell. That's the name of the song. This is an incredibly talented band. They make some awesome music. Hope you enjoy it. Let's go check it out. Okay. That was such a Covenant type little riff. It's very eerie. These guys make some wild music. They have so much more bass in the mix than a lot of metal bands today. Just super thick. Got some very intense screams. Thumping, tapping, chicking. He is wild. A little preview of the chorus here. Gosh. Oh, his singing voice is so good. Especially over just this thick instrumentation. I love it. Man. Oh. Wow. I have heard this song before, but it is just always surprising. Oh yeah. It's like B chorus. Gosh. It's so good. It's about to get nuts. Okay. Just go off. Why not? Oh man. God. That was wild. This is the opener for the album. In case that gives you any idea of how these guys roll. Got a little falsetto in there. That sounds great. Gosh. So, what did you think? So, yeah, the album is pretty wild. Like that is representative of how this album sounds. I think this one got a lot more personal and dark in the lyrics than their older stuff. I didn't follow a ton of well, I didn't dive into much their album with Fear on it, Artificial Void, and I didn't really get into Gold at all. And actually, what's funny is when I was listening to some interviews, I heard I heard several of them say like they're like, yeah, we hated Gold. We did not like that one. They didn't like the writing process. They didn't like kind of how it forced them to sound different than in the past. So we'll just discount that one, I guess, for them. But I got into them on their first album, Covenant, and that one was just really really cool. It quickly became one of my top 5, maybe top 3 favorite Gent albums. Like I really liked how they did it. The tone sounded very different. Like in this one, it's thicker. It's not as processed. Maybe that's, but yeah, I mean, it sounds very different, right, than a lot of the bands we featured on this channel. And it stood out to me instantly, and the writing as well. Manuel is also just an insane guitar player. Like he's got techniques and skills that people like do not understand and would beg to have for themselves. And so yeah, their guitarist was blowing up on like YouTube and Instagram. He'd write these short little riffs, make a video of him playing it, and like yeah, they were just so fast. And yeah, people thought he was faking these videos. They thought he was speeding them up. And so he ended up showing some live clips of him playing these riffs, and he could still do it, sound checking during shows, like whatever else. That was enough to silence the critics and even give them a little boost in popularity along the way. So yeah, guitarist name is Manuel Gardner Fernandez, and he's also their main vocalist. He is very talented in both of those areas, I think. And he's one of those vocalists that, much like Jonas from Catatonia and Marcus from Invent Animate, they started out by just screaming and then learning how to sing along the way and wanting to introduce that to their music to make the musical vision that they had for the band. And like Jonas, Manuel has a deeper voice, like kind of a throatier sound that really complements the unrefined tone, like the harsh kind of tone of the instrumentation. So yeah, an awesome juxtaposition there. So back to the theme of the album as a whole and kind of the darkness that I mentioned a little bit. I read through the lyrics of all the songs because they all seem to be related. And it seems to be kind of a concept album with a lot of inner turmoil and kind of self-reflection, self-doubt, figuring things out along the way. And it's funny, I was prepared to do an analysis, much like I did for Exile, Tesseract's song, which, by the way, Ash O'Hara commented himself and said I was right. So not to brag, but your boy kind of guessed exactly what he was thinking. I'm being an idiot intentionally. And yeah, still kind of even shocked that he found the video, to be honest. But so yeah, anyway, I was thinking about doing an analysis like that, but let me back up a little bit. I was doing that because Manuel is gay. Well, at least kind of. I mean, I guess he's like bi officially because he's dated a girl and a guy. I don't know. There's a whole thing, but
you know, it's amazing to me that in this day and age you can be so obtuse about sexual orientation.
But yeah, I mean, I saw the similarities of a person who was leaving the church and struggling against kind of their thoughts and figuring out who they are.
Right, guys, because of gay.
And I say church because I heard in an interview that he sang in a choir of a church, and they also have a song on this album called Purgatory. So if I had to guess, I would guess probably a Roman Catholic background. That seems to be really popular in Europe, especially. These guys are from Germany. He probably never felt a true calling on his heart. He probably was never inclined towards God, but he, heard the phrases, heard the verses, and some of that kind of filtered into his head. But he's realizing in this song, like he's writing of the time whenever that happened, where seems to be stepping away from that and trying to figure out what he really believes. Another interesting thing to point out about this band is that their bassist David actually is the guy who writes all their lyrics, is what they said in an interview. I don't know if he writes every single word or if he like helps Manuel like with his ideas, but David writes the actual words. I'm not exactly sure that dynamic there, but these guys are in the same band. You know, they're performing these songs together. They clearly are mostly of the same mind when it comes to the definition of these lyrics. I also heard them both say in some of those interviews that they specifically wanted lyrics in their band because they wanted songs that had a bit more meaning. So with all that said, you know, I don't think this is going to be an exact one-to-one interpretation like I had for Exile, but there are some very similar themes about leaving Christianity. So let me show you what I'm noticing here. So this first stanza here, God's disciple, today marks the day of arrival, the end of the world's denial. This is what we have become. It struck me as somebody who, you know, really badly wants to be vindicated in what they believe. He says, today marks the day of arrival. Like, now you'll finally see, right? And he also says, I need retribution now down here. So it sounds like he's almost trying to convince himself of his own beliefs. Like, he's not totally sure, but he's like, okay, today's the day, like it's going to happen. This is real. So it sounds like there's a level of him trying to convince himself, but he still kind of has some doubt. So we'll get to the chorus in a second, but I wanted to look at this next verse here. He says, I kneel before my Lord, the newborn King. So I guess this is a Christmas song now.
Well, happy birthday, Jesus. Sorry your party's so lame.
The Antichrist has risen, and even though I know I'll always be a sheep of God. The way that this struck me is a picture of Manuel's faith as he stands before the newborn King. It's kind of a childlike faith, or a faith when Manuel was a child and he was, you know, looking at the Christmas story, the newborn King. And that's kind of like as mature and developed as his faith actually got before the Antichrist is rising. Something bad is happening here. Or maybe they just wanted to mention the Antichrist because it sounds metal and tough as nails or something. I don't know. But then they also have this singing part, the kind of B part of the chorus where he says, struggling to begin the story, tragedies that have been unfolding, they made me who I am, and made me bury my past. So this sounds like a very clear paradigm shift away from that past way of living, maybe that childlike faith, if that was what the second verse was referring to there, into a new way of understanding the world in light of his past experiences. So yeah, that huge chorus where he just belts those notes, right? It was very grandly sung, very epic, but it was singing about some very scary stuff. He says, hell is a place right in my chest. It's burning me. And all these lies I can't confess, they're showing slowly. So, and actually that, just now, I didn't think about this before, but it made me think of the Scarlet Letter, kind of this is it the Scarlet Letter? Well, I'm thinking of the kind of stain on the chest that kind of grows out. That was probably a different book. But the Scarlet Letter was meant to be like a visual representation of the inner sin, right? So now we see that the lies or whatever the sins are, he can't confess them. Again, confession kind of points towards Roman Catholicism in my thoughts, but they're showing slowly, like they're becoming revealed, and he can't hide them anymore. So yeah, he's being very raw and honest with his struggle here, and he's making it clear that he's already experiencing hell in this life. Like before any type of thoughts about the afterlife or, you know, salvation, anything like that, he says he's already in hell right now in his chest. And, you know, especially pointed is the note that he has become his own gate to hell. Like, he doesn't have to go searching for it. He's just there. Now, while it's true that people can go through mighty suffering in this life and experience what they would call their own hell on earth, Jesus and the disciples and the apostles did say that hell is a physical place that's outside of this world. It's outside of us. And hell in the Bible represents separation from God. So it's basically a natural termination point of our life outside of Christ. When we say, I don't want God, I reject him, I don't want anything to do with him, God says, okay, here's what that existence looks like. And there is much weeping and suffering, gnashing of teeth. I mean, it's not an exciting place when Jesus and the other biblical writers describe it. So there is a sense in which we can go through small tastes of hell before we die. You know, we can get consequences for our actions that lead to suffering. We can just see what it's like when God takes his hand back just a fraction. Yeah, the only thing that gets us past this, right, is God's saving work on our hearts that changes our dispositions in the end. So it makes it so that we do want to desire God, and we do want all the goodness that he provides, and we know that we need forgiveness in order to be there, in order to be reconciled and made right with him. So overall, I see in this song and in much of the album an intense admission of guilt and defeat. And this isn't like a godly type of guilt that the Bible describes that can actually lead to repentance and faith in God, but it's more like in the Souvenirs video, Mateo, that lead singer, you know, he was saying that he kind of failed himself and didn't meet his own expectations. And I see Manuel here unable to fulfill his idea of who he wants to be as well. And I'm not just talking about the concept of like pushing ourselves with lofty goals, like trying to be a good, you know, excel in our job or excel in our family life or anything like that. It's more like we naively set standards for ourselves, thinking that we can achieve them. And those standards are already wildly below actual perfection. It's like a kid saying he's going to build a palace for a king, and then he goes to the beach and starts trying to build a sandcastle. Then a wave comes in and shoves it once, and it becomes this big lump of sand. It's not even symmetrical, let alone functional. And the kid's like, that's good. I'm ready. It's ready for the king to come in. It might be cute when a kid does it, but when adults do it, it's seen as foolish oftentimes. And it's basically us fooling ourselves into thinking that we're okay when we're really not. So I'm not doing a whole album analysis on this guy or anything. And there actually is a little bit of language on some of the other songs, just as a heads up. But I wanted to go through a couple verses from some of these other songs that I was reading. Is actually in the last 2 songs on the album. He says, I wish I wasn't a failure that nobody needs. I feel like I lost the key to my inner self-esteem. I opened the gates to this ungodly presence, drawing back to hell here. Now it eats away at my bones. I feel the poison run free on the inside, and Brother Death stares at me in his robe. Yikes. So just like in the Catatonia video, where Jonah said that it's easier to submit to the demons than to fight against them, it looks like Manuel is rolling over and letting the demons win here. Now, if these guys ever see this video too, just like with Ash, I hope that they can hear my heart, that they can hear that I'm not trying to beat them up. I have no ill will against them. I'm not laughing at them for experiencing hell in this life, anything like that. This is serious stuff, and this is about their current heart and their current state, and also their eternity someday, right? I don't want the internal hell that they're experiencing now to take over, and I want them to be able to make their way out of this. But this isn't a pull yourself up by your bootstraps type channel. The answer here is Jesus. The answer to everyone's sin, suffering, problems, hell on this earth is Jesus. With that forgiveness that Christ offers comes a new heart and a fullness of life that we haven't experienced before, and also a reconciliation to our Creator that makes it impossible for the hell inside of us to win. That's my prayer for these guys, is that they would find that they would find that peace with God, that they would be made right with Him, and same with everyone watching these videos. So whether you're a Christian or something in between or whatever else, no matter what you believe, thanks for being here. I hope that these words were edifying to you, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.